Hey guys, it's time for a little unboxing video. I believe this is a speaker that will work with my Brunswick 5KR radio. And more amazingly, it's actually a Brunswick Model A, which I believe is the original speaker that sold with that radio. I think I'd said in an earlier video that I didn't think I would ever actually find one of these, and I had resigned myself to using an RCA 100A or similar speaker. But a few days ago this popped up on eBay for what seemed like a reasonable price. So I placed a bid, and it turns out I was the only bidder. And the seller was just up in Wisconsin. So this got here in just like 24 hours, just delivered by FedEx. Now I'm a little worried because it's a fairly large speaker, and this box isn't all that big, and it's got a big bulge on top. So I suspect there may not be a whole lot of packing material in here. So let's keep our fingers crossed that survive the journey. Gotta be careful when I cut this, of course, because I don't want to plunge down and cut the radio cabinet up. Well, I guess there's some packing, if you want to call it that. It's just a little sheet of cardboard. And here is the speaker. Wow, I really hope that this didn't get crushed. You know, if it was just like this, imagine if there was a heavy object put on top, it would have just really mushed down into the speaker. A little bit of packing on the sides. That's some protection. Alright, let's see. Alright. Looks like it did survive. I don't see any damage. It's interesting, they actually put the logo on the back of the speaker, and this matches the logo on the inside of the 5KR radio perfectly. See license notice on bottom. Oh yeah, there's a label down here. Brunswick loudspeaker. Register U.S. Patent Office, made in USA, Model A. And the rest I can't really read. Looks like some of the felt feet are missing. It's no big deal. And I see some brass screws here. I imagine that's how you open it up. Kind of curious how there's a grill and speaker cloth on both sides. This is definitely the back though. And I imagine this hole here is where the wires should be. Not quite sure why there aren't any wires. But the speaker inside is okay. You know, there is a crack here. I'll check the photos that were posted on eBay. You know, to see if it was damaged before shipping. But either way, I'm definitely going to keep the radio. It's not really that big a deal. I really love the finish on this. It's dinged up a bit here and there, like on the top of the arch, but it's got a real nice patina to it. I really like how it's lighter in color in the center of these columns. Too bad these columns were applied rather cheaply. They're actually just nailed on, and it looks like some of the fillers popped out where the little nails are set in. Alright, so I'll grab a screwdriver and pop this open, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the speaker's actually good. I was reading online about these speakers. I knew they were higher impedance than modern speakers, but I wasn't sure what that impedance would be. I think I saw something that they're like 600 to 1,000 ohms, somewhere in that ballpark. I have no idea what that actually accomplished. Ah, those two cutouts there are finger holes. So you put your thumb and your finger in there and you pull up. This pops out. There's a little spring latch down there. Well, visually, that speaker looks to be in excellent condition. So, let's see. I guess I should put those screws back in because they were actually there to hold the bottom on and I don't want it to fall off. Okay, so here's the remains of the wire. I guess somebody cut this off ages ago. It's no big deal. I think I've actually got some reproduction two-conductor wire around here somewhere. Speaker's got some kind of fabric backing, like a dust cover. Model number A, and there's a serial number 180277. So maybe they made in excess of 180,000 of these. Not sure. Seems like a lot for a radio that's, I don't think, all that common. Alright, well, I suppose the next thing to do is to get this up on the workbench and feed an audio generator into it and see if it makes some sound. Okay, this gives me a chance to show off a new toy I got recently. I don't think I've mentioned this in any of my videos. What it is a WaveTech Model 183 function generator. I'll do a dedicated video on it because it really deserves it. It's a very, very cool device. And until I got this, believe it or not, I have never had an audio range generator. All my other generators are RF only. So it's nice to finally get something that I can actually use for like this to test out a speaker. And this thing has a lot of output power. It has plenty of oomph. It's a 50 ohm output impedance, and it can do, I think, 20 volts peak to peak into a 50 ohm load. Now, what I thought would be a good idea is to put a capacitor in series with one of the leads. 0.47 microfarad cap. If you recall, the Brunswick radio actually also has a 0.5 microfarad cap to couple the speaker. What this will do is block any possible DC of getting into it and limit the power if there's something wrong with the speaker or I'm putting too much of a signal into it. Alright, so I've got this in a times 100 range and I've got it on about 1, so we should get 100 hertz out. I've got the output on minus 20 dB and I got it turned down all the way. And I've got it in sine wave mode. The reason they call these function generators is because it can do more than just sine wave. It can do sine, triangle, square wave, pulse, and so on. Alright, so I'm going to turn this on. Don't hear anything. Turning this up. Nothing, but could be I just need to go to a higher output range. Oh yeah, it's a nice hum. Let's try turning the frequency up. Awesome. I don't know what the frequency response of these is, but it seems to really drop off, like below 300 hertz. By the time you get down to below 100 hertz, it's barely putting out anything. Once you get to like 300 hertz, definitely it's so loud I gotta turn the volume down. Let's go up to the next range. It seems to start falling out again around 3,000 hertz. So it seems to have the sweet range is like 300 hertz to 3,000 hertz. So not the greatest frequency response. Fantastic. I've got myself a speaker. I just hope the radio will work. I don't know, somewhere around here I have the pins that were stuck into the chassis. And now I'm glad that those were left there. If you recall, the radio has a couple jacks in the back for the speaker, and there were some plugs stuck in there and the wires were snipped off. So I'm going to take those plugs, try to dig up some cloth covered wire, and repair this. I went hunting around for some wire and I found some reproduction 2-conductor cloth wire. But I also found a length of genuine vintage wire. Not sure what this came out of. Some old radio or another. And I noticed that it's darn near identical to the stuff that's in here, even down to the one wire being striped and one not. So I'm going to go with this. Save this reproduction for another project. Also dug up the pins that I salvaged out of the radio. I'm not entirely sure how the old wire was connected. I think that it was probably tinned and then stuck in here and then heated up. So I'm going to try to heat these pins up with a soldering iron and see if I can pull a fragment of wire out of there. I dug out the remains of the old wires, tinned the leads and soldered them inside the plugs. And I also applied a bit of this fray and stay fabric glue to the ends of the outer cloth jacket so it won't keep unraveling. It should dry clear, and I think it'll work out well. Other than that, I'm not sure how these ends were dressed or if it was just like this, but for now I'll just leave it like that. Maybe I'll look around online for some photos of intact ones. As for the other end, there's a knot in the cord so it won't come through the hole, and I crimped some eyelets on the other ends, well, crimped and then soldered, and I'll loop those on. One goes here, and the other one goes right there. There's some nuts to hold them down, hold them in place. So, before I button the speaker back up, I was curious to see what the speaker itself looked like, so I just unmounted it. There were only a couple wood screws holding it in, and they don't look like they're original because they're mismatched style. So, I'm not sure what that's all about. I only see the two holes though, I think. So one up here and one down there, but it doesn't really seem... Well, maybe there's another original hole up in the upper right. Seems like there should be more holding it in is my point, so I'll investigate that a little bit closer. Well, then again, there's only two holes in the speaker frame, so... Oh well. At any rate, speaker cone is in such fantastic shape, I think this might actually be reconed. Because this sure doesn't seem like 80-year-old paper to me. Although I'm pretty sure it is paper. I don't think it's any kind of plastic. But hey, I'm very happy. This speaker looks to be in fantastic condition. And if you're wondering how this works, this horseshoe on the back, that is actually a magnet. This does not use a field coil like so many vintage speakers do. But this was before they knew about rare earth magnets, so it's not a very strong magnet. And then the business action is actually like a little reed down in there. See it go into the little, kind of like the center of the speaker. That's attached up front there. So that reed vibrates, you know, as the voice coil is energized down in here. And there's a nice label here with some patent notices and whatnot. Radio Corporation of America. Alright, so I'm going to button this back up and then let's give it a final listen. I was just looking over the cabinet in more detail and I noticed that there are lots of little white flecks of paint. So I'm going to take some Howard's Restore a Finish and some fine steel wool and see if I can rub those out. Well, that worked out quite well. Better than I was expecting, actually. Not only did it get all the paint flecks off, but that old original finish really cleaned up nicely. After this Howard's dries out a bit, I will put on some Howard's Feedin' Wax, which is a mix of beeswax and orange oil, I believe. I finished going over the entire cabinet with Howard's Restore Finish and then Howard's Feedin' Wax. I think it is looking quite nice. Nice old patina on it. So now all that's left is to get the radio working. As I was saying, this is a very fun device, and I will talk about it in more detail in a later video. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at a Brunswick Model A speaker.